Pardon the interruption, but I'm Pablo Torre, and I am thrilled to be back on PTI with you, Tony.
I'm Tony Kornheiser, and I'm thrilled to have you here, Pablo. Did I sell that? Did that work? Did I sell it?
You know, this is...
Well, you're not supposed to hear that.
Well,
That's why I
saw
gritted
it,
my
I think,
teeth.
was the bigger issue. It was the gritting. The gritting of the teeth felt
That was good, wasn't
excessive.
it? Yeah. I wish some of these were real teeth, but at my age, of course, they're not. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. Wilbon couldn't hack it through the whole week, so I'm joined by our great friend, the host of the podcast, Pablo Torre Finds Out, Mr. Pablo Torre.
What a sound. I haven't heard that sound in years.
And we begin today with the featured playoff game this weekend, Pablo. Baltimore at Buffalo. They met in week 4 in Baltimore. The Ravens drummed the Bills 35-10. Derrick Henry ran for 199 yards and a touchdown. Josh Allen had a nondescript game. Pablo, this game is in Buffalo. Who do you favor and why?
I favor Buffalo, even though Vegas, broadly speaking, seems to be favoring the Ravens.
Yeah.
Which is a startling thing.
One.
Because Buffalo
I think it's
will be...
one. Yeah, it's one.
Yeah. It's supposed to be like 11 degrees or whatever it is. And look, I'm not saying that Lamar Jackson can't handle the cold. I'm just saying that this is a game in which one team is looking into a mirror and mostly seeing itself. It's crazy statistically. Let's just start with that. 157 points is the differential that the Ravens have. The Bills have the same exact thing.
Yeah.
It's just absurd. Like, what are the odds of that happening? And so when you add to that the idea of, okay, here you have two desperate, existentially desperate quarterbacks who need to win this thing with a running back behind them. Now, James Cook, of course, not Derrick Henry, but still no slouch. It's just very similar to me. It's a coin flip. I give the edge to the team playing at home because I'm old school like that, Tony.
Yeah.
I'm just old school, apparently.
Well, if you want to talk about old school, that is exactly the way Baltimore approaches its offense. It has an old school running attack. It has Derrick Henry, who's a Hall of Fame running back and who weighs about 600 pounds. It has Lamar Jackson, who is the best running quarterback in the NFL. And up front, it's got a whole bunch of 300-pound guys. There's no subtlety to this. You know, it's not sleight of hand.
Right.
They say, we're going to run at you. Let's see you stop it. And the trouble for Buffalo in stopping it is Buffalo is not built with 300-pound guys. And so they are, they don't knock back on the Baltimore people. To me, the only way Buffalo can win the game is if Baltimore makes mistakes, they turn it over, if they fumble it, if they throw interceptions, or if Buffalo gets out to a lead, maintains that lead, and at some point Baltimore has to abandon the run. It's odd to me. The other games that are on, Pablo, I think of the teams playing the teams. And in this one, as you alluded to, I just think about Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen because they are that good. One of them is going to win this game and go on to the AFC Championship, and the other one is going to be ridiculed. He's going to be pilloried. It's unfair, but that's what's going to happen. If you compare them in playoffs, Josh Allen is superior. He's 6-5 in games. He's got 23 touchdown passes, just 4 picks, where Lamar Jackson's 3-4.
That's right.
And he's got 8 touchdown passes and 6 picks. But that's not going to matter. The guy who wins is going to look great, and the guy who loses crushed.
Yes, Josh Allen is saying things that a reasonable person would say. He's saying in the history of football, a quarterback has never played against the other quarterback, right? They play against the defenses you alluded to.
Right.
And I just have to regrettably inform Mr. Allen, that doesn't matter. We're looking at the heavyweight fight poster,
That's
right? This is Foreman Ali.
That's right.
This is Rumble in the Jungle stuff. We have to enjoy it on that level, and it'll be unfair, but that's the entertainment of it. One of these guys has to win this. The other one, again, legacy, Tony. It's an overused word. It kind of makes sense in this context. But I suppose we should move on to Sunday's early game, because that may be the undercard, but it's pretty good. The Rams are taking on the Eagles in Philly. The Rams defense getting a lot of credit for what it did to Sam Darnold on Monday night, but the Eagles defense also clearly been performing at a really high level. Now, the Eagles beat the Rams in LA in Week 12. The Rams, however, have lost just once since. So do you like LA's chances in a very snowy Philadelphia?
No, I like the Eagles. The Rams are not a cold weather team. It's supposed to be 3 to 4 inches of snow in Philadelphia while the game is going on. Matthew Stafford's a great quarterback. He's not a cold weather quarterback. Played college ball in Georgia. Then he goes to Detroit and plays indoors. Then he goes to Los Angeles and plays outdoors in temperate climate most of the time. his record in rain and snow, I believe, is 1-8
Bad.
with only 54.6% completion. That is not a convincing resume to me, right? And one other thing. I thought what the Rams did last week was extraordinary to go to Minnesota and win that way. I really did. I think I don't think they are being helped by being on the road a second time. I don't think they are being helped by having another week to think about the fires in Los Angeles. And I find it hard to believe that for a second straight week, they'll be able to concentrate on the game.
Yeah. The Philadelphia Eagles defense does the thing where they put a pillow over the face of the opposing quarterback and they hold it there for 4 quarters.
Yeah.
That's how good that defense is. And so when you talk about, okay, yes, the NFL is a game of largely mediocre teams trying to distinguish themselves from each other, and I don't think the Eagles or the Rams are in that class with the Lions, with the Bills, with the Ravens, aforementioned. The edge that they will have against Matthew Stafford for the reasons you mentioned, the outdoor stuff, and also just the defensive matchup, I can't manufacture a reason to think the Rams are the better pick here, Tony, and I'm trying. I really am, but
no, it's okay.
I just don't see it. I don't see it.
The Eagles, if I'm not mistaken, the Eagles have won 13 of the last 14. They've only given up 20 points twice in those games. The last time they played was in L.A., and the Rams got beat 37-20. And Saquon Barkley ran for 255 and 2 touchdowns, caught passes worth 47 yards. So he accounted for 300 yards by himself. Have they come up with a way to stop that? I don't know. I don't know if they have it. I'm coughing. I need it so dry in the studio.
I was going to say,
am I in the studio?
What you seem to be doing is what I predict Matthew Stafford will do, which is largely choke in this game.
Gagging right here.
Yeah, pick the verb you want. Look, the whole story, by the way, of the Rams offense has been one of largely schizophrenia. We don't know which version of Matt Stafford we're going to get.
You're right.
And so is it going to be the one that's averaged under 15 points a game for that long stretch where it otherwise looked good? Or is it going to be the one that showed up last week? Against the Eagles specifically, I think we're going to get the one that underperforms and has hairballs that they got to clear out of the throat.
Well, it could be the one who won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, you know? I mean, his credentials are long, but outdoors, rain and snow, not so much. We move to the NBA. Last night's big game was Cleveland at Oklahoma City, a rematch of a recent game in Cleveland where the Cavs won 129-122 in a tense, taut game. This one was anything but. Oklahoma City playing without big man Isaiah Hartenstein, I said that correctly, I believe, crushed Cleveland.
Yes.
They were up 42 in the third quarter. 42. If this is a preview of the NBA Finals, they're going to be over quickly. Pablo, what does it say to you that the Thunder pounded the Cavs last night?
Yeah, the Thunder are on their way to one of the great regular seasons in NBA history, and I'm not sure people appreciate that. And I'm also not sure, because of the way the NBA is as a sport, it's going to matter all that much. So I'm going to make the case. I'm going to undermine the case in like 2 seconds. But the case is this. In terms of scoring margin, no one is on pace for as large of a scoring margin in NBA history as these Thunder, which is because their defensive efficiency, how good their swarming, marauding, gang-tackling defense has been, they are just destroying teams, the Cavs included. Now, the problem, of course, Tony, is that I watched the Warriors win 73 games or whatever it is, and then it didn't matter because they didn't win the title. So maybe I'm just gasbagging for no reason, but the Thunder as constituted are incredibly impressive through almost half a season.
That is why I was so shocked at the last game they played, because they came in with the number one defense, and they gave up 129 points at that. I must tell you, you were not on the show yesterday because Wilbon was here. At the end of the show yesterday, Wilbon picked Cleveland to win this game. He said, well, Oklahoma City doesn't have Hartenstein, and, of course, they don't have the big kid because he's been out for months.
Holmgren.
You know, they don't have Holmgren. So this is going to be a walk in the park for Cleveland. How did that work out? 42 in the third. So you don't really need Hartenstein. Now, you don't. Look, this is a January game. I'm not going to put a lot of stock in it. But if I were Oklahoma City, I'd feel very good about this because my best player, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, just handed in an MVP tape. 17 for 26, 40 points, and he wasn't that good. He was nowhere near this way in the first game. 17 for 26, 40 points, 8 assists in 29 minutes. 29 minutes, plus 32 in 29 minutes. So if I'm Cleveland, I want to forget this as soon as possible. And if I'm Donovan Mitchell on Cleveland, I want to forget it sooner. 3 for 15 after a 3 for 16. So that's 6 for 31 against a team you might meet in the finals. That ain't great.
Yeah, can I squeeze one thing in? Because you used me as a Wilbon pincushion. I understand why. I'm not Wilbon. So you want to yell at Wilbon, but I'm not Wilbon. So I just want to say this about the Thunder. But I just want to say this about the Thunder. They turn other teams over at a rate that is absurd. They've been doing it without Chet Holmgren, largely without Alex Caruso. And what they're getting away with right now, Tony, is to me a larger sort of issue about NBA geography. The Thunder are in Oklahoma City, which means that they've gotten to stockpile these picks and build a team and basically do a lot of stuff in the shadows. What we're seeing this week after that game last week is now the lights being turned on. So the country's going to start looking at Oklahoma City. Finally, it's been overdue, and they're going to say, how good is this team? And we're going to do a thing in the postseason where they get graded for the first time, I think, on the merits of being, wow, a nationally relevant franchise, and it's going to be weird and uncomfortable, but they've deserved it, and I think they're good enough to take it.
They're going to have to wait a few weeks because nobody's looking at them until football's over. Nobody. Let's take a break.
Also that.
Coming up, what should we expect tonight from Jimmy Butler's return to the Heat?
And what are the prospects of the unrivaled 3-on-3 league that launches tonight?
That was very eloquent on Oklahoma City. You're a fan. Are you off Philadelphia now? Are you off Philly?
Nah,
are you off the process finally?
I have not stopped trusting the process, but when you mentioned that everybody's just going to watch football this weekend and next week and the next weekend, then I'm like, that's also a good point.
Yeah.
Also a good counter argument to my own.
Pardon the Interruption is brought to you by
It's time to get it on with Lexicon. What's first?
Jimmy Butler's return to the Heat tonight could be blank.
My word is rancorous. I like that word, rancorous. Ramona Shelburne of ESPN is quoting a source near Jimmy Butler with this sentence. Jimmy hasn't even really started. That sounds so ominous. I mean, I don't know that I understand why they are bringing him back at all. He does not want to play there anymore. He has gone through this before in his career. He got out of Minnesota. He's unhappy. Why are you bringing him back? Everyone knows they're going to trade Jimmy Butler. Pat Riley has said he's going to trade Jimmy Butler. So why would you bring him into that locker room? He doesn't have to audition for other teams by playing for the Heat anymore. They know what he can do. So my word is rancorous.
Well, my word for actually similar kind of reasons is desensitized. I'm kind of desensitized. I know what Jimmy Butler's capable of. We haven't quite seen that. What I've learned reading that same story is that actually the Miami Heat have made all of these accommodations to Jimmy Butler. They hired his trainer. They let him stay in a special house in Boulder, Colorado, like miles and miles away from where the team was staying at their hotel. They let him do stuff that other superstars, typically, historically for them, haven't been able to do. And likewise, when I went to go see what has Jimmy done to make this all very messy, I saw a video in which he is complimenting a barista and therefore subtweeting, which is a term that I'm sure you understand, Pat Riley basically saying, I'm being nice to this guy, what a boss is supposed to do to an employee. It's very passive aggressive. And because I know what he did in Minnesota, Tony, I'm like, I need more. My nerve endings are numb to Jimmy if it's just going to be this kind of passive aggression.
But you knew that the die was cast when they suspended him. And by the way, the barista thing, I understand he's made a whole bunch of dough in coffee. I understand he has coffee places all over the place. What's next?
Expectations for the unrivaled league should be blank.
They should be tempered in the same way that they should be tempered for the TGL Golf League. This sounds like a pretty good idea in the basketball. Almost all the great WNBA players are playing except for Caitlin Clark. But, and I've said this about the golf is not real golf. They're hitting it into a screen most of the time. This is not real basketball. This is 3-on-3 basketball in the half court. It's not the full game of basketball. And although women's sports is riding a fabulous wave right now, we don't know how this is going to work. I have watched TGL a couple of times, and I have been charmed. I expect the same thing can happen here. But because it's 3-on-3, Pablo. I don't know if it draws a television audience.
Yeah, my word is commensurate. Proportionate, in other words. Like commensurate with, yes, the larger trend in which, like, the NWSL, the National Women's Soccer League, is making valuations of $100 million on average.
Yeah.
Impressive. So let's judge it against that backdrop. But then more specifically, to your point, let's keep in mind, this is the off-season league for the WNBA. This is a lot more like the TGL in terms of attracting people who are already predisposed to find this somewhat interesting and who maybe can be drawn in because they're going to do stuff that I'd like the NBA actually to experiment with. They're doing like this one-on-one tournament, which I like. They're going to try some weird stuff. They're doing this in a studio in a smaller court.
Could be good.
But it's proportionate, right?
Yeah.
Let's be realistic about what this is. It's not the big prize.
I think I was told that the TGL telecast outdrew a couple of NBA telecasts head-to-head. So there's an audience, and there'll be an audience for this too. Let's just not automatically assume that that's the greatest thing on earth. That's the final word.
That's right.
Let's take one last break. Still to come, could Joe Mixon miss the Texans game against the Chiefs tomorrow?
And what does Joel Embiid's latest setback mean for Philadelphia 76ers?
Chris, these lozenges are good. I got through that segment without coughing. Feel
You
good
have a
about
losenge
that.
sponsor?
I don't have a lozenge sponsor. I should get
Oh,
one.
you're open to a
These
lozenge
things.
sponsor.
I'm open to all sponsorships. Wait, you
A
kidding me?
big box of that.
Yeah. Send me a big box of that. Happy time, people. Happy 28th birthday, Kyle Tucker. The outfielder had spent his entire Major League career in Houston after the Astros drafted him number 5 overall out of Plant High School in Tampa, which also produced Wade Boggs and Pete Alonso. Tucker played 633 games in Houston, batted .274 with 125 home runs and 417 RBI. He was on the Astros World Series champions in 2022. He was an all-star the last 3 seasons. He's won a Gold Glove. And now suddenly Tucker's on the Chicago Cubs. The Astros traded him for 3 players, probably because he will be coming out of team control after the 2025 season and will be looking for big money. If Wilbon were here, I'd ask him where he thinks Tucker is going to play for the Cubs. So I'll ask you, Pablo, is he going to replace Cody Bellinger?
So I phoned a friend I called Boog Sciambi, the voice of the Cubs, and he told me, yeah, Kyle Tucker's going to play right field almost entirely. Seiya Suzuki will play DH. And also further that he is going to be, Kyle Tucker will be, the best player on the Cubs and a top 10 hitter in the game. So, Mike Wilbon, congratulations, based on my reporting.
Boog Sciambi, you just dropped that name on us. You just did that.
That's right.
Not so happy anniversary, Gary Anderson. On this day 26 years ago, in his first season in Minnesota, the veteran kicker missed a 38-yard field goal, his only miss of the season, late in the NFC Championship against the Falcons. So instead of facing a 10-point gap, Atlanta rallied for a touchdown to force OT and ultimately won on a kick of their own, denying the 15-1 Vikings a trip to the Super Bowl. Anderson had made all 35 of his field goals, all 59 of his extra points, becoming the first kicker to ever finish the regular season perfect in both field goals and extra points. Going back to the previous season, Anderson had made 46 field goals in a row until this one sailed left. The Vikings were the first team ever in the NFL to go 15-1 the regular season and not make the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we talk about the Browns a lot, the Bills a lot. The Vikings are underrated in their misery. They got the one championship pre-merger. But this game, imagine being 15-1 and losing like that because of that guy. That is traumatic, genuinely traumatic.
46 in a row.
It's crazy.
Happy trails to the Australian Open for Naomi Osaka. The 2-time tournament champion is out after retiring in her 3rd-round match against Belinda Bencic. Osaka's recent ab strain flared up after she was up 5-2 in the first set. She went on to drop that set 7-6, got a visit from the medical team and called it a day. Bencic now advances to face Coco Gauff in the 4th round. Also eliminated is 7th-seeded American Jessica Pegula, who lost in straight sets.
Right. And on the men's side, by the way, Alcaraz, Djokovic both advanced. If they advance again, they will play each other in case you're a big name hunter like I am when it comes to tennis. So yeah, at least something over there worth looking forward to.
One correction, it was my fault. The Rams played the Vikings in Arizona last week, not in Minnesota,
yes.
as I said. Let's go to the big finish. Joe Mixon, questionable for the Texans game at the Chiefs with an ankle injury. Is that significant?
It is, but Rappaport reported that he is going to play, it seems, so good news. Alex Ovechkin, Tony, broke the record for most goalies scored upon. Are you impressed?
That's not what he's going for. He's going after Wayne Gretzky, not a list of goalies. That's a subsidiary thing for him. The Sixers will rest Joel Embiid's swollen knee, reevaluate him in 7 to 10 days. How does that feel?
It feels like it sounds. Like his legs don't work, and neither does my pride at this point. Dawn Staley signed a 5-year extension with South Carolina worth more than $25 million. Your thoughts?
She has won 2 of the last 3 NCAA championships. She has 3 NCAA championships. It's hard to argue with this, but Gino may go to his people and ask for a raise. Last one, Wolves at Knicks tonight. Are you intrigued?
The Julius Randle Bowl. The city cannot stop talking about it. We actually want to know who likes this guy less at this point. It's a real toss-up.
Had to go find the flag. We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. Samuel McLaughlin of Pepco, shout out.
And I am Pablo Torre. Thank you for watching. Thank you to Samuel. PTI is airing an hour early on Monday, 4:30 Eastern. Pablo Torre finds out is my show, but now you're
Wait, an hour early on Monday? Somebody
enjoy
tell
that.
Mike. Somebody tell Mike. Come on.
I'll see you Monday.
PTI.